Hey there, Racer Rob with Integrity Auto Care, better known as Dr. Rob. Today's patient is a 94 Mercedes Benz S420 and perfect day to be working at the shop. Rainy Saturday. It's a coffee kind of morning. So, okay, here's my goal with these videos. Keep them fun and entertaining and come from both of the technician standpoint and the owners. Try to bridge that gap between the two because I know it's frustrating for the both of us. One of the misconceptions is, oh, can you just plug it in the machine and tell you exactly what's wrong with it? No. This one's a prime example. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So the complaint is check engine light comes on, low power, runs rough. So the very first thing from a technician standpoint is to do a visual inspection, test drive it, duplicate the complaint. I've done that. And from 35 years of experience, my first gut reaction was lack of fuel pressure, lean misfire. So I check out some of the basics first. So fuel pressure was checked, it's 55 PSI, idle, around 60 at cruise, so fuel pressure's fine. Visual inspection, yeah, right. A lot of the ignition stuff is underneath covers now, so we can't even get to them, so it's actually like open heart surgery. So the next thing I did was I went ahead and scanned it, and I have got a cool Motive scanner that I went into. Now this thing's got multiple, here's one of the things that both as a consumer, I know it's frustrating, and as a technician it's frustrating as well, but this is a 94, and this thing has got multiple control units. This is like a 4-page component locator. That's the pet peeve of mine, fellow shop owners. You got to invest in the right tools. So if you do that and you're honest with your customers and tell them more of the story, they will trust you, and you too can become the car doctor. So basically that's what we're up against, a lot of different control units. Like I said, I'm going to keep this simple so I don't glaze over any eyeballs here, but this is basically after I scanned it. So think of this like doing an EKG of testing. So as you can see, do this with my camera. These are all the codes that were in the ignition module alone. There was like, I don't know, 15 codes. So the very first thing, this is kind of like my format. Every good technician, operation fix Mercedes Benz, has a good flow chart to follow. So as you'll see, test drive, feels like ignition misfire, lack of fuel, tested fuel pressure, the basics, scan, 15 codes, big question mark for me. I'm like, oh man, very unlikely that 15 different problems have happened. So visual inspection, do some research, and that's the other thing too. I hear a lot of for lack of trusting shops, I can't blame consumers, but they'll go, oh, I'm going to go Google this problem. And yes, there's a lot of information, but it's kind of like a lot going through Craigslist. There's a lot of bullshit there too, so you have to be very, very careful and have an educated eye when you're doing that stuff. So yes, I did some history research on this vehicle, the conditions that I was having, and besides having a really good scanner, another investment that I highly recommend is I use Mitchell or any kind of a database system, but here's the wiring diagram. So I basically do an overview of what we're up against. Here's all the different sensors. Boy, that's small. Man, I practically need glasses to read this stuff. But you'll see, this is kind of what we're up against. This is the overall system here. So what I did was I did a little bit of research on this, what could be causing problems, and then used a lot of common sense as a tool. That's just one of my most invaluable ones. I'll tell you a little bit about that tool in a minute. So I did find out that these Mercedes Benzes have had problems with, going back a little bit. Here's your mass airflow sensor. Here's your injectors, your injector rail. And this is a drive-by-wire vehicle, meaning that, as you'll notice, there's no throttle linkage here. mass airflow sensor right there, measures the amount of mass of air going through, heats up a resistor here, and tells the computer, I've got X amount of air, give this much fuel. And if you look really close down there, going on 5 minutes here, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick. There's a throttle plate. So it's drive-by-wire, meaning that when the customer presses down on the gas on the inside, there's a sensor, sends a signal to the computer, and the computer sends a signal to this actuator here, that linkage, and opens up the throttle, depending on how much gas that the customer gives it. Now, one of the other known problems was this actuator is known to go bad. I visually inspected that, had a technician press on the throttle, it's fine. So to get to the nitty-gritty of what's really going on here is I peeled back this wiring sheath, and lo and behold, if I can get down in there for you, see that corrosion? That's just a cover of it, man. That's like cancer right there, man. Bad news bears. So the very first thing I'm going to tell this customer is, number one, it was very difficult to troubleshoot, had 15 codes, so it was not just plug and play. So I'm going to get some diagnostic time there. Then I'm going to replace this cable, and then there is another set of cables underneath this whole box here, which I'm going to update my customer and kind of tell him, hey brother, a fellow mechanic, by the way, you'll get this as you gain the reputation as being a car doctor, electronic specialist. A lot of guys do restoration, mechanical repairs, but they don't do the doctor stuff, so I'm going to update the guy, let him know what the next step is, and here's the key. I need to retest it, meaning I replace all this wiring, not 100% positive that it's going to fix all the problems, because that wiring could have shorted something else out. So number one, communicate with your customers. Number two, do the repairs that the diagnostics proved effective. Retest, and if needed, keep fixing. So that's pretty much it. We're about 7:20. So like I said, I want to keep these fun and exciting, kind of give both the customer and other technicians some inspiration on what it takes to fix today's complex cars. A little behind the scenes here at Integrity Auto Care, good scanners. I've got a wall full of scanners and equipment here, testing. Keep it clean too, guys. Man, you really want to gain respect. Keep a clean shop, the right equipment, communicate with your customers, and be honest with them what it takes to fix today's cars. So there's a little bit more of my office there. Cool stuff. So to wrap it up, 94 Mercedes Benz S420, check engine light, lack of power, fix the electric wiring first, and then retest. Okay, Racer Rob, Integrity Auto Care, better known as Dr. Rob, over and out.